Hi guys, it's Shrika. I hope you spent a very joyful time celebrating this New Year's Eve and made your 2024 goal list. For a fresh new start, I decided to clean and resettle my watercolor palette, and I made a list of colors that passed the year as my favorites and new ones that I want to try and use more. Throughout the years, I've purchased different colors, but I used only very few of them. My goal was to build up a palette of colors that will help me get a good range, yet with some personalization. I built my palette with myself in mind, trying to make it color-coded with my personal preferences. Note that the colors I won't tell the brand for are from Winsor & Newton. Meanwhile, for the others, I will say the brand. Before going, I would appreciate if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, as your support will help me grow and motivate me to keep posting here. Thank you very much. Now we can go for the video. Let's start with the reds since they are my favorite. The first red we have here is Permanent Rose, and it's a color I overused throughout this 2023, and there's a reason why. I mean, plenty. When I started to really explore color at the beginning of last year, I did some research on pigments and color mixing. This color was one of the suggestions that I found because it has a single pigment in it, making it easier to blend with other colors. It's a lovely red near to magenta, yet warmer, and that makes it perfect as a primary color. It's transparent, but can reach a good range of intensity, and that's what I liked about it, besides the shade. Opera Rose is another color that I used a lot, thanks to its transparency and vibrancy. It's a lovely shade of pink that is just perfect for achieving the lightest and brightest mixes of color. Very good when painting flowers or even just dropped on the wet surface of what you're painting to create some interest. I had to choose between the two Opera Rose I owned, one from Winsor & Newton and one from Daniel Smith. I believed that the Daniel Smith one looked too unnatural and saturated for me, so I stuck with the Winsor & Newton one. Alizarin Crimson is the first red I've ever used when I started watercoloring, and that's because it was inside of the 12 Cotman set. It's a lovely cool red, and I love its transparency. With reds, I want a good range, since they're my favorite amongst the three primaries, and I decided to add the colors based on what I didn't know if I could replicate or not. I believe that I'll make a video showing you the range of colors that I can create with different primaries, so you'll also have an idea of what to choose based on your personal preferences. Quinacridone Magenta from Daniel Smith was part of a set that I've been gifted for my birthday 2 years ago, and I believe it's perfect to create dark violets. I can't wait to experiment with this primary as soon as I can. Winsor Red is one of the Winsor & Newton colors that I find on steroids because you need very little to have a very saturated and rich result. I was skeptical about it at first, but then I decided to add it because it's very vibrant and looks good on the paper once dried, and you can see how smooth it is. Carmine from Van Gogh is a color that I purchased years ago and that I didn't use at all. For this year, I decided to add it to my palette and make something with it, as I find its rich color very beautiful. I can already picture flowers painting with it. Cadmium Red from Schminke is another color that I purchased to see the difference between this and the Winsor & Newton one that I already owned. What I've noticed is that this red is more intermediate than his brother, which has a warmer hue, but is still acceptable as a cadmium. I want to create a lot of rich browns with this color, although I have to calibrate the ratio of red I put, since this is a very rich and pumped color. Here's Cadmium Red from Winsor & Newton, and as you can see, it's warmer. I personally didn't like this color at first, but I've become accustomed to it to create warm oranges and browns, although I found that it tends to separate in the mixture if you leave it for too long, so beware. Cerulean Blue, the one that I mistakenly written as turquoise, is a color that I use when painting eyes and skies. Although it's not that transparent as I thought, it makes a good ally when you need a sky blue. Here's turquoise from Van Gogh. As you can tell, it's not that transparent, but it does the job. and it behaves very well when mixed with other colors too. I remember purchasing it because I was trying to find a substitute of another color from Winsor & Newton, which was cobalt turquoise, that had a high dispersive power when painting directly on canvas, and also with other mixes it tended to separate. I found in this color something that not only was similar but best when mixed. Cobalt blue. Just looking at this color suits me. It's a very beautiful blue that I decided to substitute to ultramarine blue, the main one that I used throughout 20 and 23. I wanted a color that didn't granulate a lot and from which I could make cobalt mixes. It has an almost pastel look, although it keeps its transparency. Indigo is my all-time favorite dark blue. I used it a lot for this Inktober, and it's a beautiful warm dark blue, perfect for skies. I wanted to add also Payne's Grey to my palette to have a dark color, but I refrained from it since that's not my interest going too dark with my pieces. Honorable mention to my favorite beautiful Winsor Violet, which accompanied me throughout the years and that I add mostly everywhere to create shadows. Very beautiful, rich and transparent violet. I'm sure that if you don't already own it and you decide to buy it, you'll love it too. Going to its complementary, we have transparent yellow, that, as the name says, it's a cool and transparent yellow. I love this primary as it mixes very well with other colors and lets me achieve the most transparent mixes. Another yellow is Aurelian Yellow from Daniel Smith. That is a color I wanted to try to implement as I believe that I can create very good mixes with this light and almost pastel yellow, yet keeping the transparency in check. Cadmium yellow from Schminke is the opposite. It's a yellow on steroids that is not very transparent. I added since I believed that in my palette I needed a color like this. I had to choose between this cadmium and the one from Winsor & Newton, that like it happened for the reds from before, even in this case the Winsor & Newton one is warmer. For the yellows, I decided to stay towards the cool and neutral spectrum. For the greens, the ones who made it through 2024 from my previous palette are olive green and a green yellow from Winsor & Newton. I love the first, although it's not very transparent, and for the opposite reason, I love the second because it's transparent, and mixed together or simply put near each other, they create the perfect foliages. Green Apatite Genuine is a color from Daniel Smith that I decided to include as I found it too pretty to leave aside. Plus, it's a material girl that has stones in it, and that's the reason for the granulating effect happening on the paper. I had to include it. Cascade Green, still from Daniel Smith, is a color that I put instead of Viridian from Winsor & Newton, since I believe that its slightly variations happening inside of the mixture are very pretty and perfect to create interest. Perylene Violet is a color that I totally abused throughout the course of 2023 for painting the skin and the shadows. When diluted, it's very beautiful and creates the best skin tone mixes along with other colors. Indian Red is one of the colors that I added as new, since I believe it may be useful for painting a lot of things on the portrait, and I wanted to vary a lot my range. It's not that transparent as you can see, but I'm interested by this color, so I added it. Aussie Red Gold from Daniel Smith is an orange yellow that I added since I wanted to stop using burnt sienna, and I believe that with this color as a base I can create similar mixes. That's all for this video, guys. I hope you found some insights in it, and if you didn't already, like and subscribe to my channel and comment which was your favorite color. Thank you very much. I wish you a happy new year. Bye bye!